Friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your invitation. Today for the next 15 minutes, I am going to share with you the top 10 tips and tricks of colonoscopy for you. Because we all know doing a good colonoscopy is a very challenging task, because we have very high quality indicators for a good colonoscopy. You should reach the cecum almost 95% of the time, and we should not miss even a single polyp. Our polyp detection or adenoma detection rate should be around 25% in a men more than 50 years, and there should be no complication, major complication like perforation. So to achieve all these things, we all need a structured training program. I'll share with you, after 20 years of this practice of colonoscopy, art and science, top 10 tips. Here they come. The first one I would say is to go for something like this, a high definition colonoscopy. It is like driving a Mercedes, be it an Olympus, Pendex, Fujinon, doesn't matter, because high definition endoscopy, because of its image enhancement technology and also magnification, it is able to give you very crystal clear pictures with a diagnosis which you can make even without doing a biopsy. In other words, you are making an optical diagnosis without an in vivo biopsy. So this is a great advancement of the image enhancement technique. The second, of course, for every colonoscopy, you need to have a good bowel preparation. We do a simple ritual of bringing the patient with a low residue diet for 2 days and give them 2 liters of this polyethylene glycol. If you give it over 2 hours, they clear the bowel. There are some adjustments you need to make according to some other specific conditions like a chronic constipation or inflammatory bowel disease, but in our experience, this single good bowel preparation makes all the difference because you are already halfway to success. When you see the colon after this good bowel preparation, you have to assess how good the preparation is. Is it excellent? This is what you want to achieve. That is score of 3, the Boston bowel preparation score. Next, of course, is a setting up. You need to have something like a cockpit drill. How you want to have the patient laid with a vent flan, and also you should have a nasal oxygen, and you have 2 assistants on either side and their role, and also you need to have a clear patient checklist and equipment checklist like a pilot before starting the plane, what he does, because we should know clearly why we are doing in this case. I have enumerated various indications. One of the common indication, of course, is a rectal bleeding and a diarrhea, but there are other conditions where it may be required like a screening and surveillance. Of course, we should know when not to do a colonoscopy. For example, when you are suspecting any acute abdominal or perforated viscous, or even an acute diverticulitis is a relative contraindication for a colonoscopy. And once we know a good history, patient's comorbidity, previous surgery, get an informed consent, then get the patient on the table. And this is the cocktail we normally give. A combination of midazolam, tramadol, buscopan in our hand is quite good. I am sure you can try pethidine or a ketamine or a propofol infusion also is quite welcome. And lately we use routine use of the carbon dioxide insufflation, and that made all the difference as far as the pain threshold is concerned. But we need to be very vigilant whenever we do any such procedure. So we need to monitor the patient, and we need to teach our staffs also the importance of the safety during the procedure. Coming to the next thing, I am sure some of the cases beyond diagnostic, you may see a polyp that need removal. For that, are we ready with our team with the tools? That's also important, and I'm sure you should know the technique of polypectomy, and you should have a right temperament to do, because some procedures like ESD may take sometimes several minutes to do, so you need to persevere and perfect this art. And I would say these 3 things are a great addition for every colonoscopy unit. A good irrigation pump to clean the bowel if it is not completely ready, and also, as I said earlier, carbon dioxide insufflator and a good thermate having the property of the endocut modality. Let me just start with you today being a brief talk in the 5 important golden rules of colonoscopy. The first important thing, of course, is you need to learn to be what I call an ambidextrity. You see the picture, it is what I call an one man. So you with your non-dominant hand, you hold the control, and with the other right hand, you just torque the scope, because the right hand torque steering is a success for navigation. So you should learn this particular art in order to do a good seamless colonoscopy. And once you go beyond rectum into the sigmoid, as you can see, you just to follow the darkness wherever there is no light. For example, the first picture around 10 o'clock, the second picture at 6 o'clock, and the third picture, as you can see here, where this Taenia coli is taking you, because that gives you a direction. The lumen is around 12 o'clock. So you need to bring the big wheel towards you. So whenever we bring the big wheel towards you, you are looking up. And whenever you are taking the small wheel away from you, then you turn the right. So all these wheel movements, talking sat movement, and to some extent your body movement will make a good navigation. Because as far as the sigmoid is concerned, as you can see, by nature it goes for this alpha curve. So you need to do what we call the clockwise or right hand torque steering, like this. If you do this torquing, then like a screwdriver, the slowly you ascend, go into the what I call a sigmoid descending colon, and that's where I think you have already done a 50% of your navigation. Then going in the descending is something like a going in the motorway. It's fairly a straightforward job. So a good bowel preparation, as you can see, is of success. Sigmoid navigation is a near success. The next, of course, is loop is a possibility in every case. Whenever you push 1 centimeter but the scope tip is not progressing a centimeter, or every time when you push the scope inside, patient is just having a lot of pain, or there is a stiffness in the control head, or what you call a paradoxical movement. You push the scope but actually the tip of the scope recedes back, then you have to suspect one of these two loops are happening. For example, here as you can see, this is N loop, and here what I call alpha loop is happening. So what is the reason? Because what was a pelvic colon now trying to be an abdominal colon because of the long sigmoid mesentery, as you can see, an N loop, and that can be easily managed by a technique what we call a pull back. You need to pull back and also keep maintaining the suction, and if you have a staff, they can push the what we call the suprapubically, they can put their hand and then help you so that the colon doesn't ascend in the abdomen. Of course, alpha loop sometimes happens like what is shown in the first picture, and that can be prevented by what I call a right hand torque and also pull back. If you do that, that will also will reduce this loop. So this particular pictorial representation with a scope guide, one of the novel device, if you have 190 series, you will be able to see the first picture is going to show you the N loop, the second one is going to demonstrate what I call the alpha loop. N loop is a problem at the sigmoid descending colon junction, whereas in the alpha loop, the scope will go very easily right up to the descending colon and also to the splenic flexure. Then only you will feel the difference. That time you are already 1 meter. Then what you need to do is you need to go for what I call a right hand torque, then keep pulling and maintain the suction. At one fine, as you can see here, it will be reduced, and then that's the way to go. I think scope guide made all the differences, but still I am sure without that also you can master the skill of reducing this. Whenever there is some difficult challenging moments, always there are two things will come to your rescue. One, of course, is changing the patient position, and second is pressure at the appropriate place. One of the position I would say is the right lateral. For example, here if you see, if you have a difficult splenic flexure acute, one you can do is ask a patient to take a deep breathing, and you can what I call is the diaphragm comes down, and during that time you will be able to go. If there is any difficulty, you can do something else, that is turn the patient to right lateral. When you do that right lateral position also, that will also help you to navigate this hyperacute splenic flexure. As I said, the first picture, as you can see, the suprapubic pressure is the most important thing to prevent sigmoid ascending up as far as the abdomen is concerned. If there is what we call a gamma loop because of the long transverse colon, you can go for epigastric pressure. And very important message is message number 6, that is, there is no definite signpost as far as the colon, unlike in upper abdomen or endoscopy where you see the greater curvature, lesser curvature. Here you don't know where you are you in the descending colon, are you in the transverse colon, because sometimes you say there is a lesion in the transverse colon but it could be still in the descending colon. So you have to realize this important message. The one definite finding is meeting and greeting the cecum, because cecum is a definite spot because it has 3 characteristics as it's shown here. One, of course, is the ileocecal valve, and the second is this crowfoot sign, as you can see. Third is appendicular opening. All these things you will be able to see, and especially the ileocecal valve, if you are able to see, is a bivalved lipomatous lesions, and if you are able to see the appendicular opening, and you can just imagine as if an arrow is from there, it is pointing towards the ileocecal fold. Underneath this area is only the ileum, and you will be able to do what I call a ileal intubation. So this is what I call a bow arrow sign. So all these things you also learn, and never forget the point number 8, that is the withdrawal of the colonoscopy is more important than insertion. So you have to be slow and steady not to miss any lesion hidden behind the fold, and also at the end you have to retroflex so that you are able to do it. Is like a retroflexion for a frontal examination when we do the upper GI endoscopy. So you will be able to see a lesion and you will be able to see the piles, all these things by this simple maneuver, but may be difficult in a case of inflammatory rectum or a radiated rectum. Coming to the next important thing is, a very important thing is prevent perforation at all costs. That is a very, very important thing. Maybe because of your inexperience, or because you are using excessive force, or because this patient is a high risk patient with the fixed lobes, especially previous hysterectomy, it could happen. See, for example, this particular patient had a previous hysterectomy. We are going in rectosigmoid junction. We are not able to go at one fine minute. See, as you can see, I have to go big well towards you. As you can see, we are already gone beyond. You can see a big hole, because when it's any perforation happens during diagnostic colonoscopy, the hole is quite big. Unlike a condition like a therapeutic one like an ESD, where the hole is small, you can manage with something like a hemoclip. This is what's shown radiologically. Early recognition, early treatment is vital, otherwise patient may have a significant morbidity and even mortality. So that's why I come to the final point, the training is very, very vital. How you train yourself, because nowadays we have the luxury of what I call this plastic model and also this GA mentor. As you can see in this mentor, you can see very nicely, you can demonstrate various types of this loop formation, and you can navigate nicely, and you can go and touch various spots. You can you can ask your residents, spend about 10 hours today before you perform tomorrow. So you can very easily see how he is reaching the transverse colon, or how he is entering the ascending colon. All the tricks you can teach it in this mentor several times before you go into the actual patient. So that is the benefit of this today's training program. So ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, colonoscopy, before you venture, try to acquire the best colonoscopy in your hand. There is a high definition colonoscopy is no longer an optional, it is essential in my opinion, and every one of us should undergo a structured colonoscopy training, and I think we need to have the right mindset to perfect the art, and we should have always a good mentor to learn the art. I am sure if you do that, the patient will enjoy, and it is the practice that makes this art and science of colonoscopy a very enjoyable one, and for benefit of all of us and all of us surgeons. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Jai Hind.